And nothing.
Oh,
Uh,
no, it's recording. Huh. All right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode.
Are you
What
sure we're recording, Carl?
it says recording.
it says it's recording on my end too.
Okay, well then let's start over.
All right.
Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of What Drives You. We are just highly technically professional here at What Drives You, but my name is Stan Windhorn. I am one of your co-hosts. With me, as always, is my good buddy and co-host, Carl Bauer. Carl, you've been telling me about our guest for a while now. I'm so glad we finally got Steve on What Drives You. But first of all, Carl, say hello to everybody, and then why don't you introduce our guest?
Hello, everybody, and thank you guys so much for joining us and coming back. Please make sure you stay to the end for our words of wisdom from our guest, Mr. Steve Leitch. Welcome, Steve.
Hey, thanks, Carl. Thanks, Stan, for having me on. Appreciate it.
So I have known Steve, young Steve, for many, many years, probably since he was born. But we won't go back that far. We'll go back to when he was sent to summer camp. Steve, how old were you? Like 9, 10, 11?
So, Dad would have been preaching at Phantom Ranch when you were in high school camp. So you would have been high school camp with Russell and all that. No, Russell was. So he was doing high school camp when Russell was, because he
Yeah,
met Russell and Darla in high school. I
yeah,
think I first started going to camp with him when I was probably, yeah, 7 or 8,
yeah.
somewhere in there.
Well, there was a summer, Stan, when I was waterfront director, not waterfront associate director, ski boat driver, but there was a 1 week where they needed an extra counselor. And I was like, I do not want to counsel little boys. I'm a lifeguard. I want to be in the sun. They're like, no, 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 we got to have you. So I said, okay, I'll do it. I go to this cabin. First of all, it was a 12 cabin. So usually there's two counselors for 10, 12 kids. The guy who was supposed to be my partner did not show up. So in my cabin, I had like 3 Steves, 4 Matts, all these kids with the same name that I was not well trained. We talked about training in our last episode. I was not trained at all for this. I'd been to camp my whole life, but there's poor Steve thrown in the mix of this. And my bedtime routine every single night, Steve, I don't know if you remember this, was we had a pillow fight.
I do remember that. Do you remember the name of the cabin?
I do not.
Bronco Buster.
Bronco Buster. We had all Western.
Because I took the sign. Dad somehow got me the sign from the cabin because they were putting a new one up, and it was over my door in Scotland,
Oh,
all through
wow.
all through high school until I went to college.
That's awesome. So
That's
that
cool.
was my first kind of week long little friend, little buddy. I'd already known him a little bit, but what a great learning and adventure. And I don't think you ever went back to camp after that, though, if I remember correctly.
No, I went back to camp. I don't think I was ever a participant after that.
Yes. He was
I
like,
uh,
way better to be
I like the freedoms.
yes, yes, yes.
I got
But
tricked into a similar thing with camp too. After I graduated from college, our mutual friend Mike Timmons asked me to come and work at YMCA Camp Wapsie in Coggan, Iowa. He's like, "Hey man, I need a wrangler to take care of the horses, and I'm pretty good with horses." So he got me out there thinking all I had to do is look after the horses. And then he goes, "Oh, and by the way, you got the 8th and 9th grade boys cabin too." So I had double duty.
that
Great
was it. Yeah.
experience though.
So Steve's father, Ian, as he was mentioning in our kind of pregame conversation, was an amazing man. Is an amazing man, and just Stan traveled the world, just talking about God and Jesus, and he was one of the first people. And Stan and I have had a lot of conversations about religion versus faith recently, and
Yeah.
Ian was one of these guys that just through he was the most non-judgmental, holy, humble, loving person you ever met. So even though he was highly, I'm using air quotes, those you can't see, religious or faithful, you just felt like he was this father figure, big brother who just could coach you and guide you in anything in life. Amazing, amazing man. So
That's cool.
Yeah, he
deeply
was
missed.
super relational, and just had such a heart for the person he was sitting across from. Um,
And one amazing thing about him, one of the amazing things, Stan, he didn't care if it was a room of 3 kids or 3,000. Didn't matter.
right.
He had the same energy, same passion, same expertise and wisdom and guidance that he would have. Doesn't matter the size of the audience.
That's really cool. I love hearing those kinds of stories, and I'm sure he had some training along the way, but my guess is that's just kind of naturally who he was. Am I hitting the right note on that?
So yeah, I mean, he would say he had like some major anger issues before, coming to Christ, coming to the Lord, and Jesus really took that from him. But he went to Moody Bible Institute from Scotland in 1966. Him and my mom flew across for that, and but I think Dad was like an adventurer. Like he always
Mm,
wanted to know what was over the next hill and who was over the next hill. And
mm,
and that was just growing up in the borders of Scotland. That was kind of his mentality. Like, I wonder what's over that hill. I wonder what's around that bend. I wonder what's in that creek. And but he had a way of connecting with people, and he had a way of um, just sharing the love for Jesus, not in a um culturally righteous way or
mm.
a religiously righteous way. Like, he ticked off the church. I mean, they didn't know what to do with him because he had long hair, he had purple pants, he had white bell bottoms and leather shoes and Jesus buckle. Actually, my wife's got the Jesus buckle now. It's really cool
Mm.
belt buckle. And he was such a disruptor, that he didn't play by the world's rules, and he was sure wasn't going to play by the pharisaical rules. You know.
Yeah. Sounds like my kind of guy. And it sounds like, from what Carl's told me, and I'm sure that's what we're going to be talking about soon, his sense of adventure got passed on down to you, Steve.
Yeah, I've got that definitely got that bug for sure. I've always I've always lived pretty, I would say, fast. Like, I'm not a sit still kind of guy.
Mm,
But I have learned how to be still, which is the difference. Um,
yeah.
but yeah, I love living in the unknown, and I really struggle living in the subconscious programmed way of life where you just do the same thing every day, every year, every 6 years, like every holiday is the same. Everything's traditionally just idled to the max. Where it's like, if we don't do this, we're not having Christmas, and I'm like, okay, can it change? Can we try something new? Can we go somewhere new? Can we, and
Mm.
can we not die on the sword of tradition? Uh but yeah, I guess that does make me up quite a bit. I love a challenge, and I love challenging people.
What's interesting about that, Steve, is your favorite or most common um, adventure activity is a very redundant swimming. Thing.
Oh yeah.
So
So
like
sure.
you're just crank it, stroke after stroke, and we'll get into that here in a minute as far as the distances and the temperatures and the jellyfish and all that. But yeah, Stan, when Steve was growing up, after our kind of going back to the storyline of his dad, his dad was one of the most humble and proud fathers of his one and only son, Steve. That I remember seeing him a few years later, and he's like, Steve got into college. He's going to be a D1 swimmer. And I'm like, what? This is a kid that a couple years ago was racing with me on the beach and in the water. And Ian was just so proud, and Morag, his mom. But I was like, how does a kid from Scotland end up in a D1 program over here? And just so tell us a little bit, Steve, about that journey, how you ended up from, I know you spent most summers here, but how did that happen, and what did that mean in your life at that time?
So looking back at it now is definitely different from what it looked like at the time. I was a teenage boy. I was partly living inside of Christian culture. I was partly living inside of swimming culture. And to be honest, the swimmers were having way more fun than what it seemed like than the people in the church. Everyone was dressed up. Nobody was smiling on Sundays. It was like everybody had their perfect face and perfect mask on. And I was like, I don't fit in here. Like I, I, I question God. I don't know, like I've experienced God, but I don't know what a relationship's like. And I really wrestled with like this perfectionist church, right? So I get into swimming, I'm really into swimming. I'm swimming like for Scotland, swimming for my team, things to Scottish schools, traveling all around. And you know, all this things started getting introduced, alcohol was getting introduced, things like that. And so by the time I got to college, I think I really went to Clemson to get away to than to actually go get a degree or go swim. It was like I just wanted to run away from who I was. And I was trying to find people to fit in with, um, just because of my insecurities and who I was. Um, and I just never grasped having a purpose or, why am I here? Why am I doing this? So, you know, just dropped out of swimming really quickly. But I would say I blamed it on the coach back then, but if I had wanted it, I would have done it, even though, half the team quit or got thrown off that year by the coach. But you know, now I would say, yeah, I didn't want it. If I'd wanted it, it wouldn't have mattered what he had said. Just like if I'd wanted to like stay at Clemson, it wouldn't have mattered. But I got into cooking, got into being a chef, working in restaurants, and that bohemian kind of lifestyle, where it's very non-judgmental, like anything goes lifestyle, where you work a lot, long hours, but you party hard too. And that was really what I was like, okay, I don't have to deal with Steve. I don't have to deal with my issues. I don't have to deal with who I am. I can just live on this. I mean, it's almost like a circus on the road, right? And and so I escaped into the restaurant business for um ended up being 19 years, but um 15 of them like were packed full of addiction and like like movie you wouldn't show on TV, kind of
Yeah.
thing. It was just it was a rough style of living, and quite frankly, managed to hold it all together pretty much until the economy crashed after I'd opened a restaurant, and when the money goes and you don't have who you are at the core, you don't have your purpose, you don't have anything to stand on, you find yourself spiritually, physically, relationally, and then financially bankrupt, and you're like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the long story of how we got there.
Well, we visited, Stan, that there we had heard my cousin Russell, who we've referred to. That's the guy that I work on the cars with, who's actually a dear friend besides being a cousin, and his wife. They've kept in touch with Steve and his family much closer than Beth and I have. But we had stopped at one point in the Carolinas at one of these resorts that Steve was the head chef for. And first of all, yes, you did hide your struggles, addictions very well, because we felt so honored and hosted and loved in that visit with you. And he's just cooking for. I mean, it was like, I forget if this was an Arnold Palmer design course or who it was, but he was telling us some of the stories of the clients that he had. I mean, he was just rubbing shoulders with Stan, everybody we'd want to have on this podcast and talk to, but he did just a great job of not showing the pain and stress and struggle that he was having internally. So it was an interesting visit.
Yeah, well, let's put that into perspective. I don't remember that at all.
The visit?
The fact that you just told me you came to Carol, there's no recollection there.
Yeah.
And that's really sad to me.
Yeah.
So I remember, I mean, obviously Russell and Dara came down a few times. I remember that. So did you guys come to Labastide?
We did not come to where was the place that was in the golf resort?
Like actually in the golf resort. I was,
I, I, I thought it was you were working at the golf community, or maybe it was a restaurant in the planned community. I can't remember. I just know it was in the beautiful mountains, the Smoky Mountains.
yeah, so it was Labastide, yeah.
Okay.
It was the French Country Inn restaurant, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, Carl. Good,
That's okay. Hey, you were very kind and hospitable.
Oh, well, I'm
and
glad you had a
generous,
good time. But yeah, man, yeah, that was I had I was there for 1999 through 2005, I think. So about six, maybe 2006, somewhere in there.
Steve, you find that you don't remember a lot of things from that period in your life, or I mean, is that a common thing when you're struggling like that?
I So you get flashbacks, you get cringe moments, you have funny stories, like you hold on to the funny stories. Um, but then you hold on to like big moments as well, like uh I remember standing in the library there on September 11th, standing next to
Mm.
Harry Redfern. I'll never forget that. I always remember Tim, Kevin Costner's best friend, and Tim and I, after I'd cooked for him a couple of years, we're sitting and just talking one night, late at night, and he had just gone on this like men's retreat excursion thing. And I said, Tim, there's something different about you this year. Like you just seem more relaxed. And he's like, yeah, I really found out a lot more about who I am. And I don't remember him talking about faith, but he kind of just looked at me and went, Steve, I've been wanting to tell you this. You'll do anything for anyone if it'll benefit you.
Mm.
And I was like, interesting. And I kind of tucked that away until probably about 5 years ago when I reached out to him and I was like, hey man, I need you to know that has come back to haunt me many times to like where I've said to the Lord, if I'm going to do this, I need people not to know about why I'm doing it or how I'm doing it or where the money's coming from to help the people that we're helping. That can't be about me, so it really made a big impact. So there's, like Carl said, there's good things, like there's good things in life intertwined into all the bad. But the thing is, I wasn't saved. So it doesn't matter how
Mm.
good or bad you are. It's not, you don't go to heaven or hell because of your sin. I didn't have a relationship with Jesus, so I was tormented. I was trying to fill a hole with anything I could fill a hole with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Numbing the pain
Yeah.
or
A lot of
loneliness. Yeah.
lot of numbing, and that included like nobody could work longer than I could. Like you want me to work 2 days, 3 days straight, no problem, I'll do it. But then on the same side, nobody could party harder than I could. So it was like this constant like trying to prove myself. But yeah,
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
beautiful place. It's actually 5 miles from my bedroom window here, my office window. So I could, actually I've got got something from Labastide right there. It was my chef, Shane de Resistiteurs. Can't even say it anymore. When I got knighted in as a chef for the Shane, for something. So yeah, again, a lot of great memories. Got to cook for very interesting people, but I saw chaff. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like it's just a
Who
past
who
life.
else who else from that era? You just mentioned the gentleman Tim. Who else have you reached back to and said, "Hey, if anyone, hey man, I don't remember this or I remember this vaguely, but I just want to tell you where I'm at now." Is that a common theme or has that
Yeah,
opportunity
yeah, they
come up?
come up quite a bit. But also there were some key people that I reached back to and apologized to. Um, uh, and then there's people who I reached out to apologize to and said, look, and they said, look, I was just as messed up as you. I was going through my own stuff.
Hmm.
So I was like, okay, so, um, but again, I mean, I was just talking with someone last week and, you start counting the people that didn't make it, the number of cooks or chefs or service industry, people that I know that have died or, over the years staying in that lifestyle. Just, um, so I'm really blessed, I'm like,
Yeah,
I got a whole new life. So,
second chance.
What do
Or
you
third.
think is that that's about, Steve? Is it because you typically work really late if you're in the service industry and most places have a bar, so there's alcohol and things like that. I mean, do you think that contributes to what you just said?
yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it's, so to give the other side of it, the last 3 years I worked for this hotel chain or boutique hotel in New Buffalo as a food and beverage manager over the Marina Grand and Harbor Grand hotels. And but that owner, that the guy who ran those, was such a businessman and so professional that it wasn't what you were working in other restaurants or downtowners or in cities, It was like he like I went out and taught. I actually went out like running a great team and investing in people. I'm still friends with a lot of those people today. Like God let me finish with great memories, um, because it was run like a professional business. But a lot of restaurants, I mean, it's just the lifestyle, you know. Um, it's a hard lifestyle.
It's the same in staying in the car business. I mean, there's so many guys burnt out when, especially in states where you can sell cars 7 days a week. I mean, think about the life. You're done with your job. The dealership closes at 9. You're staying there finishing deals till 10 or 11. The whole rest of the world's asleep, and you're all wound up, hyped up. And guess where you go? To the bar, right? That's where you go to wind down. Your wife's in bed, your kids are in bed, and you wind down, getting liquored up, going home and doing it again the next day, the next day. I mean, I had an owner, just to give you, blows my mind today because you'd be in so much trouble. This guy at the end of every Saturday would send a porter next door. We had a big liquor store, and buy a case of beer. And he'd start drinking beer in the service lane, passing it out to customers who are taking delivery of their cars. Think about this. Here's a beer, Steve. Congratulations on your new Nissan. Let's have a beer together. I mean, just craziness. So that was happening all over the country. I'm sure still is in some areas, but it's those retail hours or service hours are just brutal on normal life.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, you just get hooked into it and think that there's no other way to live. It's just what you get used to. But then there is, there's a different way to live, and that's the
Much
beauty.
better. So fast forward, you end out on top, and then now you end up on top, but you're clean or sober, right? That's part of the story. Then what kicks you back to these? We're going to call them feats of strength, like Seinfeld did. These amazing physical, like I'm going to swim the English Channel. Like what happens mentally and physically? But then what is the purpose of these feats of strength?
Yeah. So the feats of strength, how did that all happen? Well, so when I got clean and sober in 2010, I started working on my faith. Worked on the spiritual first, and then I started working on physical, like getting fit again. Like I'd smoked and drank and done all this stuff for so many years. I was like, I've literally treated my body, instead of treating it like a temple, I treated it like a rundown motel. And so I started like physically getting better. And then I started working on like relationships, like what does actually healthy relationships look like? Where I am not focused on Steve, I'm focused on the people in front of me, serving the people in front of me. Thanks to Tim for that one. And and I was and then I started working on financial. So I came up with these pillars for my life, where I was like working through them. But and then in 2014, late 2014, I got out of hospitality after 19 years, went out on top. And actually, my owner said, "Don't ever come back." He's like, "Why don't you get out, stay out?" I'm like, "Okay, I'm out." And but I went to work as an agent for medical oncologists, doing locum tenens, short-term contracts. And gosh, I walked into the office and there was like boiler room, and I was like, "Is this legit? Is this legal? Like people work cubicles and do this stuff?" you know, it was so foreign to me. So I did not know if it was a real company or not. And then, you know, found out it was. But I had a manager who started, who was an Ironman triathlete. And we were just talking, getting to know each other and talking about life. And I was going through my like redemption story, and but he had found out about swimming in the past. He's like, "Oh man, you need to try open water swimming." And I was like, "Yeah, you know, I swim up in Michigan every now and again. You know, I'll do like a mile here or a half mile, but I mean, I don't train. I'm not fast. And you know, it's none of that." And he came to me and was like, "Hey, there's in like 6 or 7 weeks, there's a open water race on the lake here in Raleigh." And I said, "Okay." So I looked at the distances and I was like, "Well, there's no way I'll do well in that because that's kind of a sprint. The 1.2 or 2.4, well, I'm mentally strong enough. Like I could do a 2.4. I'm slow, so I have to imagine like I can at least do better in a 2.4 and a 1.2 because I'm not fast anymore. You know, and I'm like really beefy, overweight at that point too. So I trained for 6, 7 weeks, threw on a wetsuit, ended up looking like an orca coming out the water, and won my age group and came like seventh. I think that when I came seventh overall, dropped like a 50-minute 2.4. And he was just like, he came out, my manager came out, he's like, "Oh my gosh, that's that's ridiculous." I was like, "Yeah, it was kind of fun." So I ended up doing another one 3 months later, and same kind of result. But I was like, "Man, I don't ever want to race anybody ever again. Like, that's not what I'm about." So that summer, actually, when I was up in Michigan, I went out and just tried a 5 mile swim, or I think it was 5 or 6 miles, like no water, no nothing, just swam from one place on the beach to another place. And everybody thought I was like, "Oh my gosh, you just swam from, you know, what is it, Waco Beach to Bethany Beach." Like, wow. And I'm like, okay. So then during during COVID, I I was planning on swimming across Lake Michigan, but then COVID happened and my boat fell through. That was in 2020. So we just ended up swimming up and down the coast and swimming like 30 miles that day. Got really sick, didn't understand nutrition, didn't understand anything, cold water in my ears, all this stuff. Like had no clue. Like just went out and swam 30 miles while puking, and found out that the English Channel was 20 miles. And I said to Kelly, I was like, that's my wife, my bride. I was like, "Kel, I just swam 10 miles more than the English Channel. I should probably sign up for the English Channel." She goes, "Okay, well, that's okay, that's sure." So I got in touch with somehow, I don't even remember how I did it, and got signed up for 2.5 years later. Or 3 years later.
That's
So
the waiting list for
that
that?
was a waiting list. I was like,
Wow.
okay, well, I guess I got time to train. But the next summer I did a swim I swam the top to bottom of Lake Kiwi, and did it to raise money for cancer, Swim Across America cancer awareness. And I got a bunch of my cancer doctors oncologists to donate money and all this. And I just remember two or three things from that swim. One, I remember coining the saying, "I'm swimming for the people who don't choose to be in this position." Just people with cancer, they don't choose cancer, right? So they choose to fight and fight cancer. I've got to choose to finish this swim. Number two, I very quickly realized that there is more to this sport. When you swim 21 miles or plus, you probably should start having some conversations with some people about nutrition and hydration and things like that. Because I was just absolutely raw dogging it, and had no clue what I was doing. And then number three, the ability for the mind to push through things where I was really struggling, and my dad had sent a text to Kelly. She's in the kayak, and she goes, "Hey, your dad just texted and said, um, you've already swum further than most people have ever done in their life, and I'm just super proud of you." And I was like, she said, I just took off. And I was like, I went from like being kind of done to like, practically sprinting. So it just proves that your mind is an incredible thing. But yeah,
Hmm.
that's how I got into that's how I fell into channel swimming. Um, but then we also, during the whole process, once I did that swim, I was like, if I'm going to swim, it has to be for other people. I can't be doing this for myself. It's one is it's costly. Two, it's um it's kind of dangerous a little bit, and three, um, there's always got to be a why bigger than yourself. So it was just my way to share, um, to use my skills and talents to serve other people.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I've got a couple real quick questions. First of all, is that how the nickname Moby? I see in between your name, Moby
Yeah.
must be your nickname. You said something about looking like a killer whale.
Yeah,
Uh,
right. So
is
no,
that where that comes from?
we were coming up with grandpa names, and you know, I thought I had a good grandpa name and it got shot down, so I got kind of ticked off. I'm like, well, just call me Chum or Bait. I don't care. And so the girls are like, no, we're gonna call you Moby after Moby Dick. So I'm kind of glad they chose Moby and not the latter. And
Not chum.
so
I love it.
and then I'm glad, and then like my wife's Mamie. So Mamie and Moby, kind of cute.
I love that. I love that. I always ask people what they want their grandparent names to be. I'm Grampy to a couple of I'm going to call them my adopted grandkids, but that's another story. All right, but I got to ask about the English Channel
Okay.
because people always talk about swimming the English Channel. I've been hearing about it since I was a kid. Is it just like, is there something peculiar or more challenging about that particular channel, or has it just been around that that was what people swam for so long? But it's when you think of long distance swimming, everybody talks about the English Channel.
Yeah, it's kind
What
of like
is it?
Everest. It's the Everest of swimming. But it's famous just because that body of water really affected the World War II. Like,
Sure.
I mean, it stopped the Germans. D-Day was massive, so you've got this history. The ship. I have never seen so many shipping container ships. I mean, in my life, ferries, cargo ships, and what are they called? Cruise ships. Like, just here's we're swimming, they're going by, massive, but it's cold too. I mean, it's 62 degree water, so it's quite a cold water. So it's a hard swim. Like, I know people that have failed it multiple times, really good swimmers have failed it because you get that cold into your bones, and you're going,
Sure.
um you know the average time is between 10 and 16 hours, somewhere in there. Um, so, it took me 13 hours to do that one. Um,
Wow.
but I,
I
but
got to think too, with those kinds of big ships going by, it's got to be rough water too.
yeah, it was pretty rough. Well, it was pretty rough when we started. I'm not sure. I guess it died down by the middle and end, but yeah, I mean, we actually, our start point changed. We came out of the harbor and we're supposed to just come right out of the harbor and start at Shakespeare. And he's like, whoa, this is a little more lumpy than I thought it was going to be. So he took us 30 minutes down the coast to a better starting point. But the better starting point, you ready for this then? Is like, my wife's puking on the boat already. I'm about to puke because of, like, I mean, seasickness. I jump in the pitch dark. They've got a spotlight that has 300-foot cliffs on. They've got a spotlight going to the beach, the 300-foot cliffs of, like, White Cliffs of Dover, that
Oh
stuff,
yeah.
which are just up a little ways. And so I'm swimming, coming into the shore, and it's rocks. It's not sand. So I'm getting tar beat out of me just trying to get out the water because you have to start on dry land. And it is like the most primal, eerie thing you've ever experienced in your life. The wind is whipping, it's freezing cold. You can see this boat with a light shining on you, and the waves are just crashing in on rocks. And you're like, okay, well, time to raise my hand to go swim, I guess. You know? And
That
then
doesn't sound real pleasant to me.
well,
I'm just saying.
it's epic. I'll tell you that. It's epic.
Yeah, I bet.
And and then you get in the water and you're like, well, I'm warmer in the water because it's so cold out in the air.
Hmm.
That wears off after a couple hours. But every swim has its challenges. And, you know, in life, we have so many challenges that we go through. People don't like to talk about a lot. Everyone likes to do the white picket fence, American, hey, everything's great lifestyle.
Yep.
We go through a
Yep.
lot of hard stuff. And I say I go through a lifetime in a swim of hard things and overcoming obstacles. And so it really teaches you, nature has a way of stripping you down to the absolute core, and you find out who you are in your faith, who you are as a person when it comes to, you know, just even how you talk to your team, you know,
Yeah.
who you are when you don't know how you're going to keep going, or
Yeah.
who you
I
are
mean, it's
for 3 hours.
really sounds like a great metaphor for life in general. But I got a couple other real quick questions. I don't want to dominate everything here, but first of all, what about water critters like sharks and
Which
stuff like
ones?
that?
Which ones do
Do
you
you got
worry
it?
about?
Do you got to deal with any of that kind of stuff?
So, in Hawaii, yes. Very sharky out in Hawaii. Swam from Molokai to Oahu, Easter Sunday 2023. That was 28 miles through the middle of the night. So we started at 6 o'clock at night from Molokai, and sunsets at 7:30. And it's just you in a kayak, and then the boat's ahead of you. And you know, and the other thing, Stan, is you can't hold on to a boat, you can't touch anyone, you have to be fully self-propelled the entire.
Hmm.
And I never saw anything on that one. Couple swimmers got bit by cookie cutter sharks out there this year, right before my friend went, like the same week my friend was swimming out there, but she was fine. Um, took took some pretty good Portuguese man of war stings on that scarred me up for a few weeks.
Ugh.
Almost got hit by a rogue fishing boat in the middle of the night. Uh, we had 4 to 8 foot swells. My stomach was really, we were struggling to get my stomach settled. Thankfully, we had a peanut butter and jelly on the boat, and that settled my stomach. But yeah, I never seen any sharks. I actually saw, I know I swam over a shark a couple times in Northern Ireland this summer. He's a maybe 4 or 5, 3 or 4 footer, nothing huge, but beautiful. Um, it's not really something I worry about.
Yeah, I
I
guess
worry
you got to
more
have,
about
which,
going into the boat engine, into the motor.
yeah, that kind of takes me to the next question, and then I'll bow out of my questions here for a little bit. But I would have to think that 10 hours, 16 hours um, in the water like that gives you an awful lot of time to think.
Yep.
What are you thinking about the task, or does it give your mind a chance to go other places? Um, do you kind of see where I'm going? I mean,
Yeah.
what are you thinking about while you're going through this process?
Um, so on this last swim I did in Northern Ireland, actually it's really funny because you hear me go, oh, right before I jump off the side of the boat. It's like 4 in the morning. I already know the water's cold. I mean, it's like 56 degrees. And you have to swim in the dark, find a rock to stand up on, and then you start swimming. And the first hour of this swim, I was like, if it's this rough, I don't know how I'm doing 14 hours in this. Like, I just don't know. And then you're like, well, let me get to the next feeding or the first feeding. So you got a feeding, and then you're like, I'll get to the next feeding. But then you start, you know, like sun will come up, or you'll start seeing lion's mane jellyfish, and I count them. So I have a little game in the North Channel. I counted the lion's mane jellyfish, counted 77 of them, and only got stung 12 times. So that was great. Um, I pray a lot. I've had an opportunity to pray for a couple guys, and one particular in one of our mentorship homes, an English channel, prayed for him while I was swimming for hours, like just prayed over and over. And he ended up getting clean again, getting back and into transitional housing, and actually just helped him move into um, or helped get some stuff for his new place, where he's living by himself now, but still reaching out and mentoring him So it gives you time to pray. Also, you get fun stuff like I found out I was having a grandson in the middle of the English Channel because my wife was like, "Okay, we're going to tell him now because he needs a little pep, a little pep in his step."
Yeah.
Um, it's just all sorts of things. In Japan, um, you ever had your spidey senses go off when you're like something's bad's around me, or you ever like you're walking down the street and you're like, just
Something's not right.
not right,
Yeah.
or somebody's watching you. So that happened to me in Japan. And it's the first time it's ever, and I just kept saying shark, shark, shark all over again. And the water was so deep and so blue. And I kept looking and looking and I couldn't see anything. But something was like tracking me or following me for sure for about 45 minutes. So I had pulled in kind of close to the boat, to pretend like I was a remora fish. And so you go through all these things. You go like, okay, so this feeding went well. My stomach's going well. Oh, I'm thinking about Thanksgiving dinner. I think that answers your questions. Like your brain, you can control it when you want to control it, and then when it just wants to go somewhere, let it go there. You know,
Sure.
you're trying to
Yeah.
stay. You're just trying to stay in as present as possible.
So you're helping people, got a purpose to do these crazy feats of strength, feats of swimming. Um, and how does the documentary, and having been or being in the middle of one right now, I understand a piece of what you guys probably went through or are going through. But that to me was kind of the stand, just so you're aware, how it kind of reconnected. Because I was watching Steve on social media with all his swims and everything. But when the documentary came in, I was like, okay, now we're kind of doing similar stuff in life in this season. And so how did that come about and where does that stand as far as syndication, or where can people see that, watch it, buy it?
Yeah. So the documentary was never supposed to be a documentary. I had met a guy, Herschel, who I was out doing some coaching stuff in Texas, and he was filming it. And he stayed up late at night. I stayed up late at night. I had a lot of energy, and we just talked and really kind of hit it off. So when I was getting ready to go do the Hawaii swim, I was like, "Hey, do you want to come out with me? I'll pay for you can we'll get an extra room. You can pay for your flights, but can you just, I know I can't pay for you to film this. I know what you cost, but if I pay your way, can you come out and just film it?" So I've got like a 20-minute video about this swim. That'd be really cool. Because it was the first Ocean 7 I was doing. It was the longest of them all. We laughed because we're like, again, super naive, knew nothing. But he came down like 2 weeks before we go to Hawaii and just interviewed Kelly and I, just asking us about why we were doing this. And I'm not sure if we're in Hawaii already. I think maybe it might have been right after the swim. I remember. Yeah, if he kind of just sat us down and said, "I need you to know I'm turning this into like an hour and a half documentary." And we're like, "What?" He's like, "The story, like with how you're connected to the people and the swimming and why you're doing it, is just," he's like, "there's too much here for me as a filmmaker not to do this." And I was like, "Okay, sure." So then we released the movie and put it into like a bunch of film festivals, won a few film festivals, came final four at the Film Festival in Cannes, not to be confused with Cannes, just the same place. Um, he won Best Director and Filmmaker a couple times. We didn't get into a few other, in fact, we didn't get into the Christian Film Festival. That's the last one. It was last month. We didn't get in. And I was like, yeah, that pretty much sums it up. The movie about the gospel recovery and endurance swimming doesn't get into a Christian film festival. Makes total sense. But we win secular film festivals.
What's it called and where can people see it now?
Yeah, so where you can see it is it's on Tubi right now. It's
Yeah.
also on Amazon UK, Amazon Ireland. Amazon, we haven't got it on there yet because that wouldn't make any sense, right? To be able to have a USA-based movie filmed and made here on Amazon USA, just UK and Ireland.
Yeah.
And I think it's somewhere on YouTube. but definitely on Tubi. Tubi is the place to want it, and it's called Beyond the Shoreline, the Channel of Bones. So
Beyond the Shoreline, Channel of Bones.
the Channel of Bones is the name of the channel, the Kawihi Channel.
Okay.
It's what it translates to, and Beyond the Shoreline is really our thought process for all the swims. It's about living, living beyond the shoreline, living beyond where the world says you're supposed to be.
Very cool. Well, I will definitely check that out. Carl, do you have any questions before we go into our rapid fire car questions?
No, no. I mean, this could be like a 3-hour conversation
Yeah,
because
we could do another documentary.
another documentary. No, but I think what has been cool, and I think Steve, he's kind of, as he said earlier on, he's always kind of wanted to live uh, in the moment, these adventures. But it's kind of like you've had these 2 or 3 different lives in your one young life. I say young because you're younger than us, but um, the fact that you kind of did a whole nother industry and then switched to this other industry, which is now really you've got your day job, I think, and then you're just really coaching and inspiring people is really cool that you could do that later in life, especially the physical part, going back to this high endurance, high risks activity and sport at a later date in life is really encouraging and challenging, I think, to those of us who are maybe like, we're slowing down or whatever. No, man, your brain can make you keep going.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's just discipline, right? I mean, discipline and habits. If you want to change something, change your daily habits.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer, if I can do it, anybody can do it. It's just it takes a routine. It takes saying no to things. That's
Yeah.
probably the hardest thing. Like I I have to be very routine in what I do because I don't want to miss out on my family. I don't want to miss out on serving others. I don't want to miss out on our nonprofit Rising Tides Ministry, mentoring guys. I don't want to miss out on all these different things that we do. So I have to be very routine and disciplined in what I'm doing. And also still have fun, right? Because life is supposed to be fun. But the thing is,
Yeah.
That,
when we challenge ourselves, like there's nothing more dangerous than a man without a purpose.
Hmm.
yeah, good
There's
point.
nothing more dangerous. Like
I
you
find
find
it
out,
interesting that when you're talking about having this adventurous life, that it's about discipline and and your patterns, the things that you do on a consistent basis. But well, we want to be respectful of your time, Steve. We appreciate you being here, but this is something we do at the end of most of what drives you. So here's some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
okay,
What was your very first car?
okay. So my very first car was made by MG. I can't remember the actual model, but it was white. It was four-door stick. Obviously, it was in Scotland. And I had like a 1.3, maybe 4-liter engine.
All right. Okay.
So
And what has been your favorite car?
My favorite car to date. Oh gosh. So a good friend of ours, Eugene Johnson, had a 1979 Bronco, and I was a kid rolling around in that thing, small kid. I was like, these things are amazing. So I had an 89 and a 94 Bronco, and to this date, like still I'm not gonna lie, I probably still look almost every other day for Broncos because I want to buy one again. So
Well, that might lead us to the last question. What is your dream vehicle?
my dream vehicle. It changes on the day. So I saw these four-door Land Rover Defenders, like 70s models, redone back in Northern Ireland this summer. There's one blue one next to the harbor in Donaghadee, Northern Ireland, and I was like, that is what I want to drive on a daily basis. So I'd say like a
Yeah.
1970s four-door Land Rover Defender.
Steve, there's a
Well, if you
place,
oh, go ahead, girl.
one
Sorry.
second, like literally 2 blocks from me, south of me. It's called Highgate Motors. You can look them up. That's what they do. They take these old 4-door Land Rovers and stand there like 150, 200,000, but they're all custom spec interior to what Steve wants, stereo, whatever. And they're like brand new. It's just the body of that old 4-door Land Cruiser, I'm sorry, Land Rover, and they're unbelievable.
That sounds
Yeah.
cool. Well, Steve, if
That's
you
not
get
what I'll
another
ever be spending
Bronco,
money
if you get another Bronco, you can put the sign from camp somewhere on it.
There
Yeah.
you go. There you go.
Bronco Busters. All
That's
right, Carl, let's go ahead with the words of wisdom.
Sure. So, Steve, we kind of came up with this. This is kind of our wow question or words of wisdom, because I love acronyms. And basically, I think I shared earlier on is what would you, now having experienced all these different things in life, ups, downs, addictions, soberness, everything, what would you tell young 17, 18-year-old Steve that you wish you knew or we knew when you were young? What would you, just in a nutshell, what would you share?
Yeah, super simple. Like, be strong and courageous. You don't have to fit in with them. They can fit in with you. You know, God's really always had a purpose for me. He was just waiting for me to step into it. And I think if I just known that in my teenage years that he had a purpose just for me, you know, to live, you know, I could have been more strong and courageous and not giving away parts of me all the time.
Yeah, that's a
Nice.
good one.
Nice. Well, we appreciate you taking time, Steve. This
Yeah.
is fascinating, man. I admire what you do. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
Anytime you want to come down to South Carolina, do some cold water swimming in the winter.
Yeah, I've tried the cold plunge thing a couple times, and that's been enough for me.
It's a little different, but thank you, Steve. We're so grateful to have an adventurer and a survivor, and just sharing your journey. I think is going to help a lot of people. So thank you.
Awesome.
All
Thanks for having
right.
me.
Well, Steve, thank you very much. Everybody, thank you for joining us on this edition of What Drives You. And remember, be good humans.
See you, Steve.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.